All right, quick bites. The first big one that we need to get into that everyone's been talking about. So first of all, OBJ went out with an Achilles injury, which is devastating.
I thought it was an ACL.
ACL, what, isn't that like an Achilles?
No, Achilles is like your ankle, the back of your... It's the Achilles heel, you know what I'm saying?
All right, today I learned.
And then the ACL is your knee.
I just assumed the A in ACL stood for Achilles.
Achilles.
Or maybe ACL was like an abbreviated form of Achilles.
I could see how you might think that, yes. But ACL is a major muscle in your knee.
I'm not a doctor.
Neither am I, so I could be making this up. No, and then the Achilles is this little tendon right here.
Okay, seems bad. So
in your heel.
He's out for the season, which sucks. It was on the first pass to him. Baker bombs it, underthrows it, gets intercepted.
50-50 ball, but...
He's running back to make the tackle, sticks his foot in the ground, blows out his knee. So, obviously, that sucks. We got Odell here. We're big fans of Odell. He's obviously a great receiver. But the question has become, and it's hard not to ask this question, especially after Odell leaves the game. At that point, Baker was 0 for 5 with an interception, and things are looking bad. And then he finishes the game with 21, 22, whatever it is, consecutive completions for 5 touchdowns, and we win.
297 yards, three yards short of a 300-yard game with 5 touchdowns.
In 3 quarters, basically.
Yeah.
So he looked like...
a different quarterback.
The evolution of the rookie Baker that we wanted to see last year and especially heading into this year. So the question has been, is Baker Mayfield and this Browns offense better off without OBJ? Now, my gut reaction is no, of course not. And Baker was asked this question, and he said it was offensive to even go there the same week he was injured.
It's his teammate.
That's the correct response. And Kevin Stefanski said, of course not, no way.
Of course not, no way.
Which he has to say that. If he was like, yeah, I think we are, you can't. I mean, obviously. So we don't know what he really thinks on it.
Despite all this, OBJ is still your star player, so of course you can't really say that about your star player.
Yeah, and he does a lot of things to a defense that helps our running game, that helps open up things underneath. So it's not just when he's getting catches. If he's stretching the field, if he's getting double covered, all of these things impact what we're able to do on offense.
That's fair to point out. OBJ is not a play receiver. He's a playmaker. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he does a lot. And obviously, I think it's pretty obvious the offense will miss him as a playmaker. Like you said, what he brings outside of strictly receiving the ball. Not, of course, he's one of the best receivers in the league in history at this point in his career, despite the drop down because of injuries the past couple of seasons. I think where we're going to miss him more is on the other ends. It's like how he impacted the run, how he impacted the openness of other receivers and other routes and stuff like that. And, of course, taking the focus away from the defense.
Yeah, and you're going to miss 3 touchdown games like he had against the Cowboys. I know that hasn't happened a lot for us with the Browns, but he proved in that game, albeit against a bad defense, that he does have the propensity to still do things of that nature. But when you get into the stats, we stand for all Browns players. We'll admit it. We always look through brown and orange colored glasses. But if you look at the stats, here's the reality of what's been going on. If you look at the past 2 seasons, this season and last, with Odell Beckham on the field, Baker Mayfield's completion percentage is just under 60%. It's 59.9%. That's just with Odell on the field. When he's off the field, Baker's completion percentage is 70.4%. That's a 10-point swing. That's extremely significant. You're looking at just under 60%. That's really bad for the NFL. And compared to just over 70%, that's what all the really good passers, that's around.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, isn't that what you generally call the standard when it comes to the above average to good to great quarterbacks in today's NFL.
Yeah, it's a lot more common in today's NFL. And then if you look at this season, Baker Mayfield's completion percentage targeting receivers that are not Odell Beckham is 78.6%, which is outrageous. And his off-target rate is just 10.7%, and he has a QBR of 96.2. That's when targeting non-Odell receivers. Those are elite numbers.
Yeah.
That's top 5 quarterback play in the NFL. If you look at it, I understand there's more to it, just looking at the data. Now, however, when he's targeting Odell this season, his completion rate drops and is down to that 60% number. His off-target percentage goes up to 28%, and his QBR goes all the way down to 73.
That's a substantial difference. I mean,
night and day. Wow. You go from really good quarterback to bad quarterback, and these numbers are from an ESPN article. I forget who the writer was. That's my bad, but I saw him floating around on Twitter all over the place. So it gets a little weirder. If we're going back to over the past 2 seasons, Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham have the worst completion success rate of any duo in the NFL. 55.6%. That means 55.6% of the time when Baker tries to throw it to Odell Beckham, he catches the ball. That's the worst of any duo in the NFL with a minimum of 100 targets. That's bad, and that's literally as bad as it gets, which is alarming. And we've seen it. We've seen them not be able to get on the same page. And then if you look at again the past 2 seasons, Baker Mayfield has thrown 6 touchdowns to OBJ and 8 interceptions when targeting him. So more interceptions than touchdowns. For perspective, when he's throwing over the past 2 seasons to Rashard Higgins, he's thrown 7 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions with a passer rating of 125.5. Again.
And someone that is, way underutilized compared to Beckham. Beckham is the star of the offense even during these 2 seasons. So
of course Higgins is going to get less attention and all these different things.
Well, that's sure. But an NFL defense is still an NFL defense, and my point really is, in less time, with less targets, he has a better pass rating, more touchdowns, less interceptions.
So the answer is, looking at the statistics, is Baker better when not targeting OBJ? Statistically, yes.
By a lot.
By a significant margin. And I'm not happy to sit here and say that. Again, I love OBJ. I want him to do great things, but we haven't seen it. And those are the numbers. And we've talked about it and we've seen it with the eye test. OBJ and Baker have never seemed to have gotten on the same page.
The only game really OBJ looked like old OBJ is that game against the Cowboys.
And that was still a game in which he didn't have over 100 receiving yards, didn't have those 10 catches. It's still, he had the touchdowns, he threw the touchdown and stuff like that. But from if you look at what Devontae Adams did last week, he had 13, 14 catches, 190 yards. TJ Lockett, 15 catches, 200 yards. And I'm not saying well, what the hell, OBJ, why don't you have 200 yards? I'm not saying it like that. I understand it's a different offense. But when you have a top 5, top 10 wide receiver, those kind of games should occur every so often.
They're really the expectation.
At least big games. You should be seeing him. When he came into Cleveland, he was averaging damn near 100 yards receiving a game, which was one of the best of all time in terms of a per game average. And we just haven't seen that at all. And we haven't seen them get on the same. But if you look at the play he was injured on, that's a play where you're forcing a deep shot to OBJ to try to stretch the field, to try to get him involved early. They're obviously not on the same page. It looked like Baker was trying to throw a little more back shoulder, and OBJ was just going straight go route. So there was some kind of miscommunication there, because I refuse to believe it was just Baker underthrowing a go route where he thought OBJ was just running straight. There's no way. Baker's got, you can say what you want about Baker Mayfield, but the kid's got an arm. He can whip it deep, and he can whip it hard. So I don't think that was the case. I just think they just haven't been able to get on the same page at all. And we see that, and it sucks, but I think that's the reality of the situation. So now moving forward, we saw it in the Bengals game, but in this Raiders game and after the bye throughout the season, that's really going to be the telltale sign. If we see a completely different Baker for the rest of the year and we see that evolution of the rookie Baker, then it kind of cements the whole thing. And my hope would be moving forward, we keep Odell. He's able to get healthy in the offseason, and coming back into the new season, the coach, Baker, etc., don't feel pressured to force balls his way, and we can let Baker run the offense, which is when he doesn't feel pressure to throw it to Odell, it seems it's just make the best play. Look at the last drive of the game when we were able to win it. Baker targeted Donovan Peoples-Jones, Higgins twice, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones for the win. Landry was on the field. Now, I believe had Odell been in,
we'd probably be trying to force it.
First of all, Higgins probably isn't in the game. You're going to try to force himself to Odell. Maybe it works. Odell's a great player. Maybe he makes a huge game-winning touchdown catch and we're having a completely different conversation. But the reality of the situation is this is what's going on. And I guess
it's not just what's going on. It's what has been going on for the past 2 seasons, too. Yeah. So it's a substantial margin of time where we've really seen the inconsistencies. And like you said, the wide margin in the statistics between OBJ and Baker, and then Baker and everyone else.
And I guess the good news, the optimistic Browns fan in me goes, well, if Baker's been struggling with OBJ and now OBJ's out, it sucks to lose a superstar player like that. But just looking at the numbers, theoretically, our offense, and this is crazy to say, should be better.
And our superstar should be Baker.